we were at we were having an auction in Chicago, and during the auction, this elderly lady and her husband started to kind of approach us at the auction, and one of the fellows that works with us cut her off and said, "Hey, can I help you? They're running an auction." She said, "Well, I have this duck call, and I want to tell you about it." She said, "I know it's worth a lot of money because my dad said it's worth $5,000." And Joe took a look at this duck call, and he said, "Oh shit, Deeter, get over here!" And I went over there, and she had in her hand what we would call the holy grail of duck calls. This call was made in 1905 by a guy named James T. Beckhart from Big Lake, Arkansas. And I looked at it, and I knew what it was, and Joe knew what it was, and we were just both awestruck, right? We're looking at this call, and this call is walnut, and down on the barrel, there's a gun carved with hanging ducks, and on the other panel, there's a fish, and on the other panel, there's some other ducks, and then there's some initials in it. This thing is carved like a masterpiece. And there's 2 or 3 of those known. And I said, "Well, ma'am, that call that you have is worth a lot of money, and I'm glad you came here." One of the duck call collectors was standing behind me. He said, "I'll give you $30,000 for it right now." I turned around, I said, "Jay, get the hell out of here." We're talking to this lady. So anyway, she's standing there. We got that call, and we sold it in our next auction for $103,000.
Wow.
So her dad gave that to her, and she was about between 80 and 90 at the time. He was on his deathbed in the hospital. He said, "Hang on to this. Someday I know it's going to be worth a lot of money."
Wow.
And that is now on the cover of a book on duck calls that Howard Harlan and Jim Fleming wrote.
Jeez.
And it's
and
pictured there on the cover. Yeah, yes.
If she'd have sold it to somebody that didn't know what it was, like, she would have been happy with $5,000. Like, if she'd have just sold it to somebody in her neighborhood that had absolutely no idea but thought it looked cool, and she's like, "I want $5,000 for it," they'd have been like, "Okay, like, fine, $5,000, and it'll be a mantelpiece."
Right, and that's what started this whole thing. Is somebody had, like a housekeeper or somebody had got word that they had this call, and somebody had offered her $5,000, and that's how she knew it was worth $5,000. So she was smart to get a hold of us. There are a lot of things that get sold before we get them to auction. Mm-hmm. That happens, no doubt. But if we get things to auction, you can sell things for $5,000 and be very happy, but you may be missing out on that extra $98,000.